Do. Guys, we're back. Oh, don't know if you can see down my top, I just realised. Oh, and then I just kicked the table, so this is a really good start. Hello, everyone. Let me just take a seat. We've got the vibes going. And by vibes, I mean I lit a candle. Can you see that? Wow. Well, no, you can't see that if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I'm going to be honest, I actually tried to film one of these just now, and I felt really freaking weird about it. I think because I am new to this game, in case you didn't know and haven't listened to all of my other podcasts where I mentioned how new I am. But I think because I'm new to this old gameo of the podcast and all the other ones I've planned, essentially. And this one I decided, well, actually I didn't decide, that makes it sound very responsible. I haven't planned because I didn't really know what to do it on. But the direction that I want to take this channel in is more of a comedy situation. Like, I don't want to be a comedian. That's not what I'm trying to be. Although I could be a comedian. No, I'm kidding. I'm not trying to be a comedian. I just want this to be more of a jokey. I think jokey is what I'm trying to go for. More of a jokey, like, lifetime funny story thing than, like, fitness. And I realized that if I was just going to... So it's kind of like a different audience, I think. But there are a lot of, like, great people who follow me now who are, like, listening to what I'm doing and they're enjoying it. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are like, what the fuck? We followed you because we wanted to know how to get abs and you're not doing that anymore, so go away. Totally fair. But yes, I'm trying to make that transition. And I guess I'm freestyling right now, which made me nervous when I first did it. And I'm a little bit, it's not like I'm nervous right now because I need to realize like I'm only talking to myself. And yeah, that's about it. But thanks for joining me on another podcast. I appreciate it. It's so hot in London, which is a great thing because it's never hot in London. But I am sitting in my room and I've had to close my windows because, you know, sounds and ambulances. I live like on a main road. So I had to close my windows and now I'm just kind of sitting here with a lit candle, like sweating. Probably got a sweaty upper lip alert. If you don't know what that is, then I recommend you go and watch the movie Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging, which I think that's where it's from. And the girl in it, who's so relatable and so tragic, but so brilliant at the same time, I think she's sweaty. I don't even know why I'm trying to remember which part it is because I have terrible memory. I have really good memory with very selective things like, oh yeah, what color was that door? But not, oh, who lived in the house? Do you know what I mean? Like really bad memory with that kind of stuff. But this girl in the movie, she gets a sweaty upper lip, I think, and they call it a sula, which I think I'm getting, which I always get when I'm running. So when I'm running, I'm just constantly just like with my finger, like my forefoot, like wiping it under my nose. It looks really weird and kind of like I'm doing some weird secret spy move, but I'm not. Speaking of weird secret spy move, I don't know if I told you guys ever what I used to do as my job. So right now I'm working for my brother. He started a company called Walk In, but we actually have to change the name recently to Walk Up because of some legal issue where a company was like, oh no, that name is too close to our name of something. So we have to change it to Walk Up. But I basically work for him now. And we manage the queues for like the busiest restaurants in London and even like retailers, which is really cool. I do sales. So I'm kind of like, hey guys, like tell me about your situation, how you run your restaurant. And then I try and work out if we would actually be a good match for them. And then if we are, why? And it's a really cool job and I really enjoy it. We also built an app. I've realized now I'm just going into a pitch of trying to get you to download Walk In or Walk Up. But it's cool. Like we built an app which basically lets you join the queue to the busiest restaurants in London from your phone. So whether you're like 2 to 5 kilometers away, depending on how loyal you are as a diner, you can join the queue to a restaurant if they started operating a queue, and then go in and get a table. You get notified when your table is ready, essentially. But it's really, really cool. I'm releasing a new feature, which I'm very excited about. It's like a tech small startup of 7 of us. And a lot of people asked, you know, isn't it weird, like working for your brother? And I thought it was going to be weird. So in the first 3 months, oh no, God, wait, was it 3 months? Yeah, it was. Damn. So for the first 3 months, they had a lot of faith in the relationship. In the first 3 months, they hired me as a contractor. So they basically didn't technically hire me. They kind of hired me, but they paid me contractually. I don't actually know what that means, what I just said. But they basically didn't hire me as a full-time employee. So I was hired for 3 months, and then we were kind of going to see how the relationship would work. Because at the time there was only, I think I was the 4th person. No, I would be the 5th person in the team. And my brother was my direct boss. So like I was the first like sales hire, except my brother. My brother's CEO, but he also was like head of sales. Well, it's such like small team. It's like head of sales. But anyway, he was head of sales. So they hired me, and I had to do all this crazy shit in the beginning, like learning a sales script. Oh my God. Because I always thought sales would be cool, just because I've always been someone who has been relatively good at like convincing people to do stuff. I know that sounds like really manipulative and awful, and to be honest, at times it was like I have memories of me being about 8 and convincing my friends to drink mud. Like I'd be like, drink it, it'd be so funny. And I obviously don't remember what I said, but I remember my friends doing things like drinking mud and like painting their hands in nail varnish, and me not doing it, and like us like, but I didn't force people. Let me just get this on camera and on recorded. I didn't force people to do this shit. I just was good at convincing people. And so out of that evilness, no, there are other good things. I use my powers for good too. Don't worry, guys. Like, you know, I know I've gone on about this because I think probably it's the coolest story that I have about how I got into university. For those of you who don't know it, I always wanted to go to Edinburgh, and I didn't get in. Like, I say it like, how could they not let me in? Basically, I applied to go to Edinburgh and like 4 other universities, and Edinburgh was like the only one I wanted to go to. And my predicted grades were 3 A's, and they wrote me back and they were like, well, they didn't write me back. They just declined they didn't even get an offer. Like they just declined me. I was applying for history. And I remember another girl in my year with the same grades she got an offer. And so I wrote to the head of something like, guys, what's up? Why haven't you accepted me, bro? And they wrote back and they said, your predicted grades aren't high enough. If you're in America, basically how it works in the UK is that before you actually take your exams, because you've done half of them already the year before, you kind of get a prediction for what you're going to get. And then you get your offers to university based on those predictions. And then you get in depending on whether you got those. So it's a bit of a mindfuck. So the university were like, your grades aren't high enough, your predicted grades. And I was like, that is so not true. Why are you lying? Because another girl, Helen, she has got an offer. She got, an offer. Why haven't I got one? So I was really devastated, but I kind of just came to accept that I was going to go to Bristol because that was the second place I was going to go to, and I got an offer from them, and I was like, fine, I'll go there. And then my friend, actually, he was going to go up to Edinburgh the day before he got his grades, because he just wanted to make sure that in case he didn't get in, he could like go and talk to them, which was really smart. And he had gotten an offer and everything, and I don't even think the grades that he had to get like a relatively low offer. Edinburgh is known for accepting people on relatively low. They say like, oh, you can get BBC and still get in, which is like, not A star, basically. So he was like, listen, we weren't even that close at the time. If you listen to my previous podcast, it sounds like I only have one friend. He was the friend who I did the marathon with, Raf. So Raf was like, listen, we didn't know each other really that well. Like we'd been to a few parties together, but like nothing major. And he was like, I'm going to go to Edinburgh. Why don't you come with me the night before? So I was like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. So we both took this train. We were maybe 17. We took a train to Edinburgh. It was like 4 hours, 20 minutes. 4:20. Kidding. Took this train up to Edinburgh and stayed in this weird little hostel the night before. I remember eating like Mars ice cream and like we were like smoking in the room. I don't know. It was like fun. It was we had like a fun time. It was kind of like a party, but also a bit awkward because it's at the age where you're like 17, you don't really know this person, and it's like a boy, and there's always kind of a little bit sexual chemistry when you're like that age, because you're kind of like, I don't really know myself. Like, are we friends, or like, are we gonna like get with each other? Like, no, I'm kidding. We were friends, and I didn't want to get with him. Sorry, Raf, for listening. I probably really broke your heart just then. But So then we went to sleep, and then I remember waking up at like 6 a.m. if not like 5:30, and he was in the other bed, and he was like, bro, are you awake? And I was like, what'd you get? And he was like, I got my grades or something. Or he hadn't got them yet. So he was like, what did you get? And I had got better than I was predicted. So I got A*, double A. I got the A* in art. Great. Little artiste over here. Got the A* in art, and I was like, okay, I've got my grades. I'm going to go now. And I had no clue what I was going to do. Like, this university didn't know who I was. And so I, like, get on a blazer and try and look relatively smart. I go to Starbucks, bought myself a chocolate croissant and a coffee. I remember that. I think it was a mocha because I was 17 and obviously didn't really like coffee. So then it's like 8 a.m. or 7:30, and I'm standing outside this random history building. By the way, I've never been to... I had been to Edinburgh before, but I'd never been to, like, the history building school bit. So I'm standing outside, like, looking around. No one is there. It's not even open yet. Great. So I'm literally kind of like sitting on this thing for about an hour. And then the janitor comes in, unlocks the building. I go literally right behind the janitor. I'm like, hey, right behind the janitor. I go in. He's like, hi, I try and do a Scottish accent. Scotland. Wait, let me just try and, hi, lassie. No, that's actually not too bad. But anyway, so we go in. And I was like, hey, do you know what the head of history admissions is? And he was like, oh, yeah, she's not here yet. So get the fuck out. No, he was just like, she's not here yet. So I was like, okay, can I sit inside, and not like freeze while I wait? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I'm sitting inside. The receptionist comes in. They come and sit at the desk. And I go up to the receptionist. The receptionist says, I'll tell you when the history person gets here. So I don't know, about 30 minutes later, I'm getting kind of hungry now, because I'm nervous as well, very nervous. And finally, the history person comes in, and the receptionist like points at me like I'm a secret spy, and he's like, that's her. So I'm like, amazing. Didn't think maybe I'll leave it 5 minutes for her to get upstairs and take her shit down. Well, that sounds really messed up. Take her shit off, I should have said. Like take her coat off, maybe make a coffee. This poor woman, I follow into the elevator with her. I'm just standing in the elevator, and I'm like, well, I can't start here. This is weird. So I'm just standing there, she's kind of looking at me, thinking, you definitely don't work here, but it's fine. We get up to her floor. She walks straight ahead. I hang back. Right? Cool move. I hang back so as to not feel like she's about to get robbed. Give it 5 minutes, let her do the coat thing, all of that. She gets ready. Then I come knock at her door like we've never seen each other before, obviously. Knock at the door, and she's like, hello, yes, do I know you? And I'm like, hey, you don't know me. My name's Molly, and I just really want to come to this uni. I just really want to come here. So I got, better grades than I thought I would. So, yeah. And she's like, oh, okay, right. So this is, sorry, like acted like, this is not normal. I mean, there was no other 17-year-olds there. It was me, pretty much just me and her, and she was sorting out admissions day. So it was like a big day at the uni where you sort out everyone who got their grades and people who didn't. And her name was Linda. I love you, Linda. And she was like, okay, well, let me find you on the system. So she looks me up. She's like, I can't find you. I'm like, no, that's because I didn't get an offer. Wait, I'm not even on the protect. You just said no, like from the get-go. She was like, oh, you didn't even get, no, I didn't get an offer. Just want to hammer that one home. And so she's like, right, okay. What do you want to study? I was like, history. And I told her what my grades were. And I was like, to be honest, I'll do anything. I'll do archaeology. I'll do history of art. I'll do history of a specific country of art, if that's a thing. I don't mind. And so she was like, okay, right. And then I think she like found me or something in people who had like originally applied. I'm not really sure. And she was like, so you've come all this way, like from London? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, okay, well, that's really cool that you came all this way. And I was like, yeah, I just really, really want to come here. I was going to go to Bristol, but like I've always been set on coming to Edinburgh. And she was like, okay, well, I can't guarantee anything. I won't be able to give you an answer now, but I'll try and look into it. And if there's something I can do, maybe. And I was like, okay, great. So I left. And, I didn't leave feeling great. It wasn't it wasn't a no, but it was one of those things where you feel like it's a no, like where someone, they don't want to say no to your face. So she was kind of just like, well, we'll see. And I was like, will we? And so then I went and saw my friend Raf. He had a beer because he had like got his grades and was going to Edinburgh. And I was like, I'm so happy for you, but like I'm crying inside. And then, guys, about 3 days later, I'm sitting at my friend's house and I got an email. From the University of Edinburgh saying, Molly Teshuva, congratulations, we've accepted you. Voila! Isn't that cool? Also, I'm sorry if you've already watched my video on my YouTube channel about this story, and if you're watching this video from YouTube, because I have already spoken about this. But, two is better than one, as they say. So I just thought I'd tell it again. But yeah, so I got in, I messaged Linda, or emailed Linda. I said, Linda, thank you so much. You really are an amazing woman. Shout out to you, Linda. And she was so sweet. She wrote me back saying, after your long journey, I thought it was the least I could do and all that kind of stuff. And to be fair, I had got better grades than I thought. And they do have something in the UK which is like, if you did get better grades than you thought, you can go through something like I think called clearing or something. I'm not even really sure. To be fair, my school didn't even tell me that, which I kind of wish they had, obviously, because then I would have realized, I actually have the potential of getting in. But anyway, so I have no recollection of why I started telling that story. God damn. What were we talking about? Well, I don't remember. But that was my how I got into Edinburgh story. Damn, that's a real shame because I could pause it and go back. But you know what? I want to try and keep this free flowing. So yeah, free flowing. It's super hot today. This morning, I to be honest, I haven't really exercised like last week. And I'd be feeling a bit weird last week. One sec, I'm just going to take a sip of some H2O. Got to refresh my vocals. Lovely. So yeah, last week I was feeling a little bit weird. I, as you guys know, if you listen to my last pod, I've been trying not to eat till 3. And it was weird, like the week before last, it was so easy for me. Like I really didn't find it difficult. Maybe at around 1 o'clock, I was kind of like, I'd quite like to eat something now. But then last week, I don't know, I explained this a bit before, but sometimes I just get in my own head and I'm like, I want to eat everything, or I'm frustrated or annoyed or whatever. And if I'm a little bit tired, and I wasn't feeling 100% physically last week, when I get like that, then my mechanism to like fall back on is food. So if I'm tired, I'm like, oh my God, I need to eat everything. And so last week, I think I just wasn't being that healthy. There are a few days I didn't wait to eat till 3, which I don't care about. That's not something that I'm like, oh, I wish I could have done that. It's just something I'm aware of. And I don't know whether it's to do with me. I'm on like certain types of medication. Like I take this antibiotic for my skin, which I already mentioned in a pod. And by the way, I think I'm going to stop doing that. I've noticed I've done that a lot. Like every time I mention something from another pod, I've said, which I've mentioned in a pod, which is probably pretty annoying. So I'm just going to stop doing that. I think I'm just trying to convey the message that I'm very aware. I'm an aware human being. Yeah, and on, like, I started taking my pill. I'm on the contraceptive pill. I started taking it again. I took a break from it during Corona because, I wasn't having sex. No, I'm kidding. Am I? No, I am kidding. I just kind of wanted to stop taking it because I thought it's probably a good thing to have a break. Although, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but, there are so many old wives' tales out there saying the contraceptive pill makes you stop being able to have children as you get older. And I get so afraid of that because I've been on the pill since I was like 16 and I do want to have some babies. Let's just wait for the ambulance. Hope you go save that person's life. I said it in a sarcastic tone, but I'm genuinely being deadly serious. Oh, deadly. But yeah, so started taking the pill when I was 16, and then I've had random people like, most of the time it's been people like facial. I know that sounds weird, but often when I get like facials or like hairdressers, I think those kinds of conversations come up, especially with women when you talk about like relationships or like sex and that kind of stuff. And I've been told often that like they have had friends. I actually have heard it once from a lady who was giving me a wax, and twice from when I was getting a facial. Sounds like I have such a nice Wives of Orange County life. Like this one time when I was getting a wax, but this is over the course of my whole life, so it's fair enough. they had told me they had friends who were like infertile now because of it. So I had made doctor's appointments before, and I've gone to the doctor and I've been like, I just want to check that I'm not like ruining my glands or fallopian tubes or whatever it is, and I can still produce eggs. And they told me that it's fine and it's just a myth. So I'm hoping that that's the case. But yeah, going back to, because I was talking about, do you see what, did I mention I have bad memory? I think I did. I don't remember. This is what I mean. My memory is absolutely terrible. I can't even remember if I told you guys. Like, I have a recollection of telling you something about a yellow door. Like, I can remember yellow door, but not the person living inside the house. Yeah. So if I just retrace my memory to what we were talking about the contraceptive, like, medication I've been on, and because I've started taking stuff at like different times recently, maybe that's what's screwed me up a little bit, because I take this one medication, DIM, which I actually don't really know if it even helps. I think it does. It's to balance out my estrogen, and I take that out because I think that why I got bad skin is because I'm a hormonal human being. And so I take that with food, and because now I've pushed my eating times till 3, I'm taking that later. So I don't really know. I'm just trying to get everything settled back into the balance. I think is why I went through a really good period during Corona, because I've been reading awesome books. For example, I sound like such a bookworm when I say this. So be prepared, guys. Be prepared. Being nerdy is cool. I just want to repeat that. Books are cool. So I read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which I loved. I think that book has changed my life in a lot of amazing ways. And I am going to release a podcast about it. I swear I have it recorded. The audio on it isn't good. I'm just going to be straight up, because I did it with my brother and we only had one mic. Now I have 2, so I can record a better version of it. But we'll see. Basically, that book, I think the biggest thing, this is going off on another tangent, but who freaking cares? I will talk about other books that I think have really made me feel more like mindful and happier in myself, and perhaps how it's difficult sometimes, how I found in the last week that it's difficult to be mindful, and sometimes you kind of like get into a rut of just life, you know. And I think when you read wellness or like mindful books or books about self-improvement, it's a great opportunity to take a step back and like reflect on your life. And then sometimes you just forget to do that and you just get into the rat race of life. And I think that's kind of what happened to me last week. But anyway, we're going back. We're pedaling back to the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I want to touch briefly on that, not go, diving into it, because I do have a pod deeply on that. But I want to talk about my biggest takeaway from that book. So one of the biggest takeaways I got was the book basically told you to write out what your deepest values and your principles were. And from someone who doesn't come from religion, especially, I think that or a religious background, I think that helped me a lot with guidance, because I don't know about you guys, but often I'll make decisions, or I'll do things or say things or treat people in a certain way or treat myself in a certain way, and then later on I'll think, oh, I'll cringe, or I'll just be like, why did I do that? Or maybe not even cringe, but just be like, why did I do that? Or think, I probably could have dealt with that better. I don't like the way that I dealt with that. What was the motivation behind me behaving like that? And I didn't know why. I'd be like, oh, what do I value? I actually don't know. Like, I've never sat down and be like, this is what I value. And so I think a lot of the time I would make decisions based on selfish reasons, because that was like the only thing I was kind of aware of. I was like, well, I exist, my own self exists, so surely I'm just trying to self-motivate my own, goals and ambitions. And yeah, I'm not saying I'm self-centered all the time, and I definitely wasn't. It was just, I didn't know, I hadn't thought about other motivations that much and other people, and God, it sounds like really so. I never thought about anyone else in my whole life. That's not what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I just felt a bit lost in why I was making decisions. And so 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, recommends, Stephen Covey, I think his name is, recommends to write down your deepest values and your principles. So the idea is that once you've written those things down, whenever you make a decision in life, it will be simple, because you can look at your values and your principles and you can think, okay, if I make X decision, is that in line with my values? if it is in line with my values, then I'm going to make that decision and I'm going to move on and I won't think twice about it. And because I can be at peace with the fact that I made the right decision. Yeah, right? That to come say, you get me? And then I went, right? Yeah, right? You're right. So I wrote down my deepest values and my principles, and I thought I might read some out to you guys because why not? Why not? And also, maybe it'll inspire some of you guys to do that because it really helped me. And I have really felt that I'm not saying, I understand the meaning of life now or anything like that, but in the last couple of months, it has given me more guidance. And it has meant that during Corona, or just during this whole thing has happened, and not because of Corona, but just coincidentally because that's the time that I started reading these books, it has made me feel much I would say happier. And by happier, I don't mean like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I mean more fulfilled and more at peace with decisions I've made, despite last week being a bit weird, but whatever. So the ones I wrote down, by the way, this is the first draft that I wrote down. This isn't the end all and be all. And I did want to go over these and rewrite them and rethink about them, but I haven't yet. So this is kind of the rough ones. So the first one I put, know that my family know I love them. Right? Cute. Second one, to tell people around me who I admire and respect and love about their special qualities, aka to compliment and praise where it is due. And mainly because I remember when I was with my ex, and I think that he was like, oh, you don't tell me these things or something. I can't really remember that well, to be honest, but something along the lines of I don't communicate things I like about him. And that hit home with me. And so now, I always try and make an effort when I find someone funny, when I think someone's really nice, when I think someone's listening to me well, when I respect someone, I always try and communicate. Even if it's things like I think they have a nice voice, I think they look really nice that day, I always try and communicate that because who doesn't love hearing shit like that? Please tell me how much you like me. Anyway, I'm kidding. Next one is to celebrate the achievements of others. This one is one which I actively work on. I don't know about you guys, but obviously it comes from a very genuine place of love and happiness when people in my family do well, when people I love do well, those closest to me. But I sometimes find that I can have the mentality of there's not enough success in the world. Not so, it's not something which is with me all the time, but definitely something when I was doing progress, like the fitness side of progress. If someone I knew who I wasn't that close to got some big sports deal or an ambassadorship, I wouldn't feel, maybe I would say congrats and be happy for them on the surface, but inside it wasn't coming from a place of genuine happiness. And all that was me projecting my own frustration and insecurities on that person. And so that's something which I know I have to actively work on now so that I can reach that kind of more level of it's okay. This is not a stressful thing, good for them. You should be happy for them. Also, more success for other people means that more good things will come. So that's one that I'm working on. Think of how others might be affected before myself. Pretty straightforward. Believe and have peace with my decisions, which is this actual list does help me do that. Make clear decisions, because sometimes I do things or I say things that I'm not 100% certain on, but I'm I'll settle with that. Or sometimes I'll make a decision and go back on that decision. So I've just been really trying to be if I make a decision, I've made that decision. I actually learned in Hebrew today what good I've made my decision means, which is tov Echlatati. I'm learning how to speak Hebrew, so that is why I'm communicating in multiple languages. But yeah, make clear decisions. Yeah, I'm not saying that you make a decision you can't go back on it. Sometimes that's just how life works, and you have to do that. But I'm just trying to make more clear decisions and then be at peace with that, and then not be rethinking them and be did I make the right decision? But make the right decision based on my values and my principles, and then move forward. Next one is seek to understand before being understood. That's the golden rule of the 7 habits of highly effective people. I think it's rule number 5, but it's essentially that it's more important to understand the person who you're talking to than to be understood. It's important to be understood, but the thing that I took away from it is that you'll end up being more understood anyway if you can really understand, and also you'll be happier. Like, life really isn't about yourself, it's about the other people. To me, it's about the other people around you and understanding the world that they come from and why they make their decisions. And I think that when you can adopt that perspective, you're way less judgmental on other people, because how could you judge someone if you understand that everyone is different and everyone has made that decision based on things that have happened in their life. And a lot of times in life, you project how you feel about a situation, or you project an experience that you've had, or your outlook onto other people's experiences. And the book kind of just says like that's a really self-centered thing to do, because it's like, imagine if you go to an optician's, where you get your glasses, and the optician's puts a pair of glasses on you before, measuring your eyes or whatever the word is, and you're like, I can't see, and they're like, well, you should be able to see because I could see perfectly well with those. It's kind of like a very similar thing. How can you prescribe somebody or give advice to someone if you don't fully understand and you don't see the world from their perspective? So I think that's a really important one. And with selling as well, like, obviously, because that's what I do, it's very important, rather than to just like shove a product down someone's throat, but like to actually understand what their problem is, and first of all to see if you actually have a solution for them, and to how you can help them. So that's been a really helpful one, and I think it's helped me have better friendships now. So I'm really loving that one. The next one is, this is interesting. The next one is, do not give the control or power to others to affect you emotionally. Just take a second to let that sink in, because I think some people don't agree with this one, and a lot of people think, well, how could you not let anyone affect you emotionally? That's crazy. That's almost like what psychopaths have. But I think a lot he doesn't say that this is from Zen Buddhism, but it's a lot of those same similar qualities, where the ultimate level of like enlightenment is when, I think it's Dharma, how they say in Zen Buddhism, but is when you don't feel like any suffering, and because your internal core is so strong. So even if an external thing happens, it doesn't affect you internally, because just like the cops. There we go. Yeah. It doesn't affect you internally because you know yourself so well emotionally. And so even if external things happen, they can't like rock that world and make you emotional. Or, if someone says like you're fat, for example, which is a very basic example, in theory that wouldn't affect you, because you know who you are, and you know why you think the way that you do. You don't know anything about this person, or maybe you do know something about this person. Maybe it's your brother. But because they're their own person, you kind of have to understand that they've come to do that action because of everything that's happened in their life, and of ways that they feel that you don't understand because you're not that person. And then maybe you can even try to understand that person more, so you can see where they've come from to that point of view. And I feel like a lot of the time, if you like, sometimes when I get hateful comments, from YouTube people or these cyborgs, or these crazy people. I'm kidding. But even when I get hateful comments, though I'm going to invite like a ton of people to write mean things now, but those people, fair enough. Like, those people have come to that comment in this day at that time because of things that have happened to their life. Like, maybe they just got called a sad fat shit, and they are pissed off about it, and they want to call someone else a sad fat shit, and they've just come across my video, and I might look like the person who just called them that, and they comment, like, fair, And I'm not saying that no comment doesn't affect me, but reading things like that, the Zen Buddhism kind of like perspective, and also 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and a lot of these like self-help books, they talk about that. And I think there's a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt who says, let me get it actually, because I have it saved on my notes on my computer. But it's very inspiring. It would be great if I could spell the word Eleanor Roosevelt. It would be great if I could even spell Eleanor. Here we go. Are you guys excited? I'm excited. Okay, so the quote is, "No one can hurt you without your consent," which is very Zen Buddhism, you know, like and I think it's so interesting because I have heard it before, you know, where like a boy will send someone mean a boy will send like a girl mean text, and like I've talked about it with my mum, and my mum has said before, you know, like don't give them the power to hurt you, because that's what you're doing right now. You know, you're kind of giving them that power, and they can hurt you. Whereas like, can you please try and not do that, or remove yourself from that? And it's very much easier said than done. And I think that no one gets to that point without years and years, if not decades, of practicing. And it's a question of practicing that thinking when you're not in a state of being emotionally wrecked, you know, where you are in a calm state and you can think about these things and realize that your stability and sense of self has to come from within. I feel like we should all now put our fingers together and pray. No, but without this getting too deep and spiritual, that's something which I think is a very inspiring emotional like state, which I'm not saying I'm necessarily going to be able to get to, because I think, like I said, it takes decades of practicing that, but I would like to, because also, even if someone like does something that makes you super, super happy, it's great to have like happy news and everything, but I would just prefer to be an island and to not let my emotions be so rocked by other people, but rather from like a sense of self. It's a lot of work, but I'm going to try and start now. We did that one. To see my daily activities through the paradigm of life. So look at the balanced whole. So basically just putting things in perspective, not getting too hung up on the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff, but just realize that life is so... Oh God, I don't know if it's because I'm 24, and I'm reading the book Shoe Dog right now by Phil Knight, which is so good. And something that he said in it which really made me relate to him was he starts writing it from when he's 24. Not writing the book, but he starts writing the book, you know, now from the perspective from when he was 24. And he talks about the existential crisis that 24-year-olds or people in their 20s get. And if anyone is listening who is around that age or not, whatever age you are, I like definitely in the last couple of years have gone through, or in the last year I would say most, but like a lot recently, like when I go to sleep at night, I think like, not like panic, but I get sad about like, oh God, this is so depressing. But like thinking about like how short life is and how precious it is and how we don't have much time on this earth and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to go into that because, you know, that's sad as fuck. But yeah, that's just something which I've been thinking more about life. And I think I am in the frame of mind, because I think about that a lot, where a lot of the time I am thinking like, is this actually that important? But then again, I think that's a training thing. And it can be really great, because sometimes when you think about that kind of stuff, you realize, oh yeah, life is a vast whole. So like, whether I sent this message and they thought I was weird, like that actually doesn't matter at all. And then sometimes when you do important things and then you're like, shit, that doesn't matter at all. Like, what is the meaning of life? So it kind of works in two ways, but it's nice, I think, when you can have the whole perspective of life rather than this myopic little version of yourself, because then it makes everything seem so dramatic. And I think it's more of a self-centered point of view. And I don't think we can be that happy if our perspective on life is just of thyself, Shakespeare. Okay, so the next one is to defend the ones I love. I've always been very protective over my friends and my family, to the point where it's even maybe not that good. Like, guys, I remember when my brother's ex-girlfriend broke up with him and we all thought she was cheating on him. I am so protective of people I love and my friends, and I am not afraid to fucking battle with someone. Like, if I'm like, you did something wrong. And we were convinced, and I'm still kind of convinced, but obviously I don't know. We don't have hard evidence. We were convinced that my brother's ex-girlfriend cheated on my brother and then broke up with him. And I sent her this message, like, now that we know that you're cheating on this person. It was really bad. It was really bad. But yeah, I'm very, very protective of the ones I love. So even if that was necessarily not the quote unquote right thing to do, I would want someone in my life who defends me like the way I defend my family. So that one is in my list, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. You guys would think that I lived right next to a prison. That's how many sirens are going off. Right? Not sirens, police engines. My next one is, I like this one. It's be honest but gentle. I love honesty, and I feel like it's very important to tell people the truth, because why would you not? You know, we live such a short life, and oh God, I was about to say your truth, but like that's so cringe. So not your truth, but like the way that you see life and the feelings that you have are genuine, and they come from your, you know, existing on this earth and your experiences. So if you have an honest opinion about something, I don't see anything wrong in that, as long as you're not trying to harm other people. However, honesty can be tough sometimes. So for example, if my friend's like, do you like my dress? I will never ever say yeah if I don't. But obviously it could be really mean to say, yeah, I don't like that dress because it's terrible color on you. It's just that clashes with your skin. It's awful. So I wouldn't say that, but hopefully trying to be something a little bit more gentle, like, no, I don't like the dress because I've seen like way nicer ones. Like, you have so many nice ones in your cupboard. Let's go do that. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to be honest but gentle, and really try and not lie, because I have definitely lied a lot, you know, in the past, and there's no point in it, and it can be really hard to be like, okay, I'm going to start telling the truth from now on. But I feel like it's a very important thing for me to do, and something which again will make me more comfortable living in my own skin. Like, even with boys, like if I'm not interested in a guy, I really want to have the honesty and the power to say, yeah, I'm just not into you. You know, you're just not the one for me. That one is a difficult one, because you really don't want to hurt someone's feelings. But I think it's important, because also no one is obliged to fancy anyone. I find that kind of crazy, this concept of, oh, it's like how I'm just going to ghost them, or I'm just going to ignore them. First of all, ghosting is so much meaner than just telling people you don't like them. And two, no one is obliged to like you. I find this crazy. Like, you know, someone has every right to say, listen, I just don't fancy you. Like, I'm not attracted to you. It's not a big deal. It's just, I'm just not into you, you know? Like, the chances of someone fancying you and being attracted to you, it sounds like I'm talking about like a specific person, but I'm not. But even me, like, if someone was just like, I don't fancy you, like, fair enough. You know, maybe my ego will be like, is it my hair? You know, for like a bit. But I do think everyone has the right to be honest, and yeah. So even if someone's like, I just find you annoying, like, fair enough. You're obviously just a mug. No, kidding. But yeah, so just trying to be honest but gentle with people. Listen more than you speak. Lol, the fact that I'm literally doing a podcast, only me talking. But I am trying to listen more than I speak. I wanted to do this podcast more because I felt like I have interesting stories and experiences that I wanted to share with people in case they also find it interesting, and document for myself. So in real life, except the podcast, I try and listen more than I speak, although that's one that I got to be honest, I'm not very good at, I don't think. And I need to do more of, because I'm not conscious of it. I'm not consciously thinking, Molly, shut up. Just try and listen to what they're saying and understand them. The next one, I learn something new every day. God, I have not stuck to that one at all. Technically, I have been learning something new every day, because every day I do 2 hours of Hebrew. And so every day I'm learning new words. Like I said before, what was it? Lo. The word is tov latati, which is good, I made up my mind, or good, I decided, really. So I am learning something every new, but I haven't been conscious of doing that, which I should be more conscious, because that's not supposed to be, for me anyway, like a new word. It's meant to be something interesting. But then again, I guess I have my whole life to be trying to learn something new. So saying I can't even do it as new words is confining myself to something that might be too unrealistic. So let's just include new words. Tick. The next one is to challenge myself in areas of life which I'm comfortable. This one I wrote because the reason I wrote this one is because because I'm moving to America, I wanted to have one that kind of justified that, which sounds weird, but I can't complain. My life is amazing right now. How annoying do I sound? But I love my work. I love the people I work with. I'm so close to my family. The weather in London is so nice right now. My room, I love my room. My friends, like, I love my life right now. And so I have moments of self-doubt where I'm like, even though I'm so happy I'm moving to America and that's a dream come true, I have moments where I think, shit, you're leaving this all behind. And then I Google like rent in New York and it's so expensive. And it gets so cold in winter, and I don't have a work team, and I don't have many friends there. I'm grateful I have a few. And so I have moments where I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? My family aren't there and all this stuff. So I had to write something down to reason why I was doing that, and to challenge myself in areas of life which I'm comfortable justifies it well for me, especially because, you hear, I'm sure there are quotes out there on this, that comfort is like the thing that's going to kill you. And I'm definitely at that age of 24 where comfort is not what I'm looking for. I'm not 68. I don't live in Boca Raton. I think that's a real place. It sounded right. Or like, you know what I mean, in Keys in the Florida. When I'm 60 or 70, sure, I want to seek comfort. But right now I want my life to feel long, and I want to have as many experiences as I can while I still have the energy and like the physical able body to do that while I can. So yeah, I just don't want to be comfortable. Right. So next time I'm going to do this podcast, I'll be handstanding to be as uncomfortable as possible. That was such a lame joke. And the last one is acknowledge and reward my own achievements. And the reason I wrote that is because my mum told me to write that. Because, yeah, I don't know. I think I do that anyway. Like when I do something good, I always buy myself like pizza or like a cupcake or whatever, or I feel like I'm good at celebrating my own rewards and achievements. But she told me to write it, so you know what, guys, I wrote it. And yeah, I don't know how long this has been going on for, but I've had a really good time. I was gonna talk about I could literally live in a room on my own, couldn't I, and just fucking chat. I was going to talk about how my last week wasn't so great, which I'll briefly touch on, mes amis. My last week wasn't so great. Like I said, I think the medication, don't know if that's actually a real reason, but it sounds like a good one. So yeah, I also didn't exercise as much because I was trying not to eat till 3, which I think for me isn't, I'm trying to figure out what I like and what I don't like in terms of existence. And I think for the days that it's easy for me to wait till 3, like today was very easy. I woke up, I did 2 hours of Hebrew, like the good little non-Jewish girl that I am. I then had 2 meetings. I then ran to my mom's spin studio. She has like a gym, so me and her just did a class together. We just worked out. Then she drove me home, and by that time it was 1:30. So it was very easy for me to just have a couple coffees, and then at like 2:53 I ate my lunch. So that was easy. Some mornings it's much harder. So I think I'm just very much learning to take it as it comes, no stress, no pressure, because, going back to the whole life thing, we're only here for a short period of time. There's no point stressing about small shit like, am I going to eat my breakfast 4 hours earlier than normal? So yeah. And also, last week it was weird. Last Saturday I drank alcohol for the first time in a while, and I got a bit drunk. I guess I was drunk. Yeah, I got a little bit drunk, and God, it didn't make me feel good. Like, I'm not a big drinker anyway. It was the first time I drank in a long time. Every now and then I'll have like some vodka because it's the only real alcohol I drink. Although, so if people buy me like a beer or whatever, I'll have that. But Or if I go for dinner, like I'll have wine sometimes. It's quite rare. But most of the time I just drink vodka. I just really like it. It does the job, which basically sends alcohol to my brain. For me, it's non-complicated. It doesn't make me feel sick. Wine for me is like too heavy. Just vodka with ice and like lemon juice is simple enough for my body, I guess, and my mind. And it doesn't even make sense. But yeah, I haven't drunk in a long time. And I think just drinking made me feel kind of sad. Like it was like a sad drunk. Like I was just sitting here kind of like, what am I doing? And I didn't enjoy it. And then that whole week was kind of weird for me. So yeah, it wasn't a bad week. I just found that in the mornings, I love the morning and I'm so productive in the morning. And then in the evening, in the afternoon, I was just feeling a bit bleh. So I think this week it's sunny all week, which I'm grateful for. I'm going to just try and like exercise outside, take advantage of the sun and eat well, and like get more fruit because I didn't have enough fruit in my diet last week, and drink more water, even though I drank like a freaking camel. Do camels drink a lot of water? I feel like they do at times, like they store up and then they don't. But yeah, I'm not going to start talking about the amount of water that camels consume, so I think it's time to end the pod there. Thank you all for listening. I've actually got such an exciting pod coming up with this girl called, I think her name is Malia, but I'm going to double check, about porn. I think next week, but we might be recording it this week, so it could come out the week after that, so who knows. Thanks guys for listening, and I'll chat to you later.